wanted to start today off with you thinking about something that's helping you attain and sustain, maintain, and protect your peace. And it is this idea, this concept right here. Have you ever took something personal? Have you ever been offended? Have you ever felt disrespected? Have you ever felt that someone was talking about you and maybe they were or maybe they weren't? Well, the thing about that is that we all have. We've all felt all of those feelings and some. And the thing about that is that whether those inclinations or feelings that we have, those thoughts are correct or not, here's one thing I really want you to understand. It's about taking things personal. Taking things personal. How it affects us on a social level and how sometimes it can be a good and sometimes it can be a bad. Sometimes it can be counterproductive for us. Because the objective and goal is to first and foremost heal. Heal self from all of the different traumas that we've been through and experienced in life. And not just experience on a direct and personal level, but experience sometimes through people. Seeing things on video, seeing someone you know and love telling you about something that happened and you visually seeing it. You see, you can be traumatized in a number of different ways. And those different traumas cause us to react and respond to life in the ways that we do. And again, sometimes it's with freedom and sometimes it's in restrictions. Sometimes it's with love. Sometimes it's with some form of hate or dislike. And again, when the objective is to get the most out of life, to live life in all of its abundance, right? You know, to have our heaven on earth. If that's the objective, and when that is the objective, then healing is necessary. Freeing oneself from all of those shackles of pain and heartache and disturbances is very necessary. We can't continue to walk forth in life and live life in a way to where it's okay to have walls and certain boundaries up. You know, there's a part of me say that boundaries are good. But one thing about a boundary is not only that it keeps people out, it also keeps you in. You see, we're talking about taking things personal. I believe I'm a pretty sensitive guy. According to Eric Thomas, motivational speaker Eric Thomas, that is what he calls the I. You are the I person. You the shepherd, right? The shepherds are typically very emotional people, very sensitive in a sense. Take things even more personal. In a sense, I'm sensitive, but in another sense, I'm what they might call the D. What he calls the D is the leader and sometimes the more mental person, and the one sometimes can say things in a way to where it can offend or hurt people's feelings because it isn't necessarily catered to make them feel good. Sometimes I can shift in and out of those two. But the reason why I say I'm very sensitive is because in my youth, I remember that if a person, an adult mainly, talked to me in a harsh way, it would hurt my feelings. I would get my feelings hurt easy. And when my feelings was hurt, I would go in the closet. I mean, literally a closet. I would go in the closet, close the door, and that's where I would play at. Most of the time, the closet was, had a good size where I can turn the light on in there, and I would play with my little G.I. Joe me and this, that, and other. And I remember one time my brother had locked the closet because he knew when he got me mad, I was going to run into the closet. And I couldn't get in the closet, so guess where I went? I went to the restroom. I needed a place where I could just be by myself. And you see, what happened with that is that had become a program that I had instilled. Where I got it from, I don't know. But it had become a program that I had instilled. Matter of fact, when I say I don't know, I believe it was a part of my fight or flight mechanism. The fight or flight program that's to everybody, right? And so I think in my flight, I find somewhere where I feel safety at. And that was those places of solitude. Well, still to this day, I'm a loner type. I like a certain degree of space and freedom from people. And I would say up into my teens and 20s, I still was sensitive to when I felt I've been wronged unjustly. I felt I've been talked to unjustly, talked to harshly, for no reason. And what I would, instead of me running into a closet or hiding somewhere, what had started to happen is that when you hurt my feelings, I set out to hurt your feelings. I felt that my response was probably always extreme because taught by the honest minister Louis Farrakhan is that when you felt you are a victim of injustice, it sets a chemical imbalance in the brain. And the way God created the body is that it created the universe as well as the body, is that it naturally seeks balance. So therefore, when the imbalance happens, you automatically strive to get that balance back. And you actually strike back in extreme. And that's why God says in the scripture, in the Quran scripture, that equality is prescribed to us. That if you get hit, you can hit back. However, he say, it's best that you practice patience and perseverance because he is the best to extend out justice, meaning that exact measure. You don't go extreme. You don't set another imbalance into creation. So I went from want to hurt people's feelings to, I think today, I sit almost slightly between the two. I'm still working it out. I sit slightly between the two. But what I'm about to share with you today is also a revelation that has come to me that I will begin to also apply every day, throughout the day. And this is what I want you to do as well. You see, what makes us take things personal, and you see, that's where the problem comes in at. This is what I need you to understand. Taking things personal is where the problem lies. A lot of the time, or I would go as far as to say almost 90% of the time, what happens between you and another human being has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with that person and how they respond to you. Do you understand? You see, if you are rejected or feel rejected by somebody, it has nothing to do with you unless everybody that you come across rejects you. If everybody you come across rejects you, then it's time to start looking at you. But if you are rejected by people, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with how they embrace or can or cannot embrace certain characteristics about you. Your aura, your energy, your mind. It is something about you that just don't mesh with that person at that time. And it is that which they are rejecting, but it isn't a strike or a negative or a flaw towards you per se. And it doesn't mean, when I say per se, it doesn't mean that you are without flaw. It doesn't mean that you should not always strive to be a better individual in all aspects. But it is to say that when you start to unlearn and relearn, to reprogram this thought of taking things personal, you then reach a point to where you are like the sun. Like I mentioned in another video, you're like the sun where you can take all of what you come across. It doesn't disturb who you are. And you can reproduce all of that energy into something that you can feed the world with. You can feed the universe, the next human being with. Understanding that life is people for us. Imagine a world where you had no more people, no more human beings around. Life is people. So when I say the way you deal with life, I'm talking mainly about people. The way you deal with life. The way you respond to life. The way you respond to people. And you see, your response to people is largely determined by how personal you took things. You associate everything to you. The good you get, you reward yourself. The bad that you, or so-called bad that you get, you think it has something to do with you. You know? And the reason why is because instilled in us is the law of self-preservation all the way down to the last atom. All the way down to the matter itself. Instilled in us is the law of preservation. Therefore what? Everything about our biological makeup, which affects our brain, which affects us on a mental level, right? Like when we get hungry, like when we need to sleep, like when we need water, right? Like the desire for reproduction. You see, the law of preservation causes us to be selfish. And we have to strive and fight against being selfish to really be whole, to really develop it to full fruition. We have to fight against that because, again, life is people. And if you only striving for self, then there are others that you're not helping that are suffering. That's why, in my thinking, right, for me, capitalism isn't a godly concept. Am I saying that you shouldn't strive for all that you want? I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is that the concept of capitalism is a dog-eat-dog concept. a dog-eat-dog concept, meaning that it's not about the next individual, even though you cannot strive, survive, maintain by yourself. Everything that you have become has something to do with other people. You see? In our striving to become more at peace internally, to heal, we have to start at self-examining, self-analyzing, and self-correction, taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan under the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We have to start dealing with self. Because again, taking things personal is a part of dealing with self. The more you understand you, the more you can understand the next individual. The more you understand about life in the world, the more you are able to shape and mold yourself or put yourself in a position where things don't affect you in a way to where it becomes counterproductive for your overall objective, all that you strive for. Attain, cultivate, and protect your peace of mind. Strive to correct that thinking of taking things personal. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. And let me tell you something else in closing. That if you walk away from a situation when you said it has nothing to do with me, it has everything to do with them, and that thought causes you to then dislike, hate, or look down on, or be in the negative in your mind about that person on any level, then you still have not done the proper work. You see, you have to understand that everybody is imperfect. Everybody is striving to be happy. Everybody is striving in some form, way, or fashion, no matter what it looks like, for balance. Trying to figure this thing of life out. And we often have to give people that space, that room, and that time to do so. So don't take it personal, but don't hate them either. Don't say it's on you and then start to look at them in some negative form, way, or fashion, because then that still affects you in a counterproductive way. Peace and blessings.